NYPD Commissioner Bill Bratton is warning that terrorists are using cell phone encryption and literally getting away with murder. With me now is cybersecurity expert Morgan Wright. He says one of the big issues with the use of encryption by terrorists is now front and center. Social media letting us all stay in contact, but also letting terrorists recruit and communicate faster. So, Morgan, what should be done to control, first and foremost, how terrorists find each other, how they are, unfortunately, so successful at recruiting?
Look, Deirdre, this has been an age-long discussion in the intelligence community. What we have is the convergence now of technology, and behavior, human behavior. When you bomb your asset, when you bomb potential intelligence sources, when you kill them with Hellfire missiles, you lose the ability to penetrate an organization. Sometimes it takes people to penetrate an organization to find out what they're doing with technology so you can take countermeasures to it. One of the groups that attacked Mumbai, Lashkar-e-Taiba, just came out with their own app for encrypted communications between their members. So, Deirdre, this is a problem that is not going to be solved in the next 5 years. It's going to take policy, it's going to take law, and it's going to take a rethinking of how we look at social media. Unfortunately, we've seen what happened in Paris when they go dark and we can't see their communications.
Speaking of social media, apparently 72 hours before the attack here in Paris, there was a video, there was a message that went out and essentially saying, God bless, Godspeed to you, the attackers. So what role do social media companies have to play, Morgan? I know it's tricky because if they become known as those who share sensitive information, people will find another way to communicate. But what responsibility does a Facebook or a Twitter or an Instagram have?
The same responsibility they had when it came to discovering and getting rid of child pornography and other types of things like that. You can detect those things. You can detect some of these things. If you want to be a multi-billion-dollar company and have, a couple billion users, part of that is going to be taking on the obligation to find out when there are types of communications, what the most likely channels they're going to be on, and bringing that to the attention of law enforcement in the appropriate countries. We do this all the time with other forms of things. Like I said, child pornography is one of the big ones. They can do the same thing with some of these videos by looking for keywords, by looking for sources where it comes from. I'll tell you, but to your point, if they shut down these channels, would they go somewhere else? Yes. But at some point, we got to start shutting down these channels because they're using it to attack us. So we have to cut off part of their command and control, which is communication.
So, Morgan, one thing that we learned from Edward Snowden, the NSA, former NSA contractor, is that the NSA and the CIA actually embedded themselves in some games, for example, World of Warcraft and some other video games that are very popular, to try to see if terrorists were communicating. Even in Mario Brothers, Morgan, I could send you coins with messages that only you could pick up. So do the gaming companies need to take a different stance or at least recognize their role as an offline communication source?
I think this will be a wake-up call for them, Deirdre. I think they'll understand is that anytime you have this peer-to-peer communication where one person can talk directly to the other without the intervention by a company, unlike Skype now, owned by Microsoft, where it goes through a central server and comes down. When you have this, they can send messages, they can do things. Is it difficult? Yes. And the problem is you've got 40 and 50-somethings trying to analyze what 20-somethings are doing with technology. So we've got to change how we analyze these things, how we look at these things, and then make sure that these gaming companies, social media companies, communication companies, voice over IP companies, they all have a role to play into stopping attacks like this.
Morgan, so glad to have you here. Thank you. Morgan Wright joining us there, cybersecurity expert.